Hi, it's Brian. This is the awards contender, and as we get closer to the next awards season, I'm already nostalgic for the last one. I recently made a video, the 10 most egregious acting Oscar snubs of 2022. In today's video, I'm going to count down what I think are the 10 best nominations at the 95th Academy Awards. Now, before I get started with the list, I gave myself 3 rules. Number 1, no winners. Anybody who won an Oscar at the last ceremony will not show up on this list. So no Michelle Yeoh, no Sarah Polley, no RRR, sadly. This is a list of the top 10 nominations that did not result in a win. Rule number 2 is that I can only talk about a category once. So you're not going to see like 3 people from supporting actress, 2 people from supporting actor. Like of these 10 choices, you will never see a category repeated. And rule number 3 is that I can only pick a movie once as well. So for example, my favorite film of 2022 is Tar. This would be a very boring list if I was just like, number 4, best screenplay, Tar. Number 3, best director, Tar. And so on and so forth. That would be very obvious and dull. So I gave myself some of these rules to make the list, I think, more interesting for you and for me. So are you ready? Here we go. Number 10, best supporting actor, Brian Tyree Henry, Causeway.
When the last time you changed the oil in it?
I don't know.
All right. Sorry.
So I was pretty happy with the Best Supporting Actor category at the 95th Academy Awards, but if I had to pick my favorite from this group who did not win, it is Brian Tyree Henry, partially because that is a beautiful performance that could have easily gone unrecognized that award season. I believe he only got in at Critics' Choice before the Oscars. That movie had a very quiet release on Apple TV+, like I want to say it was around early November, and the movie got good reviews, if not great reviews. Jennifer Lawrence was being talked about for a long time as a potential Best Actress nominee, and that never happened. But there was just like this swell of passion for that Brian Tyree Henry performance, and all throughout award season, it kept getting talked about. In the days before Oscar nominations morning, I kept hearing about his name, and I was just like, I don't think that can happen, because the movie just wasn't showing up much. And so when I heard his name that morning, I just freaked out. I was so happy. I love me a surprise acting Oscar nomination. We usually get like 2 or 3 at least every year, and Henry's name was a surprise, I would say. It was such a deserved nomination. It was never going to win, especially over Ke Huy Quan, but I think in the long history of the Academy Awards, in the Best Supporting Actor category, Brian Tyree Henry's nomination for Causeway is going to age very well. Number 9, Best Costume Design, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris.
But today there's a new woman, a modern woman who knows what she wants and needs to be able to buy it. Today, there's Mrs. Harris.
So just as I'm a fan of surprise acting Oscar nominations, I also love when a really good movie might not get much traction throughout award season, but makes it into that one category it deserves to be in, and that was the case for Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. I really admired this film, the Leslie Manville performance, the ensemble cast, the cinematography, the production design. It's a beautiful movie. It was kind of a small summer release, so there was no guarantee that it was going to hang on all the way to the following year to get a bunch of Oscar nominations. I mean, it's kind of a lightweight movie. It's a fun comedy drama that easily could have been snubbed entirely by the Academy. Manville got that Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical nomination at the Golden Globes, and part of me thought the award season for Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris would end there, but then what a beautiful, well-deserved nomination this wonderful movie got for Best Costume Design. Again, because this was the movie's only Oscar nod, it wasn't ever going to win. I don't think it ever could have beaten Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which did win, or a couple other nominees like Babylon or Elvis. But Jenny Bevan, who won an Oscar for the costumes of Mad Max Fury Road a few years ago, she is a genius at her job. She is so skilled as a costume designer. I loved her work in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris, and I am so thrilled it got the costume design nomination. Number 8, Best Documentary Feature, Fire of Love. So this was one of the wins at the 95th Academy Awards I got wrong. So many people that I trust, that I look up to, were predicting Navalny, and I got really close the night of the Oscars, but my heart was telling me Fire of Love would win in the end. It's just such a beautiful movie that after a while, like, I forgot I was even watching a documentary. I just got swept up in its story. It is so lovely, very, very sad, but also uplifting in the end. It's just a great work of art. It was my favorite documentary I saw in 2022. And so while I'm still kind of bummed it didn't win, Navalny is an excellent piece of documentary filmmaking as well. I'm not mad about that win at all. And I'm just happy Fire of Love got in there. If you have not checked out this wonderful movie, do yourself a favor. It should be streaming on Hulu or Disney Plus, maybe both. Check out Fire of Love. It is an excellent documentary. Number 7, Best Supporting Actress, Stephanie Hsu, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Might not go somewhere where your daughter is more than just this.
Oh boy, the Best Supporting Actress category. Year to year, this is one of my top 2 or 3 favorite categories. I love Best Supporting Actress. Usually you get a couple surprises, you get some character actors in there. This was not my favorite year for Best Supporting Actress because I just did not think that Jamie Lee Curtis was strong enough in Everything Everywhere All at Once to even get the nomination. And then to see her win at SAG and then at the Oscars was very strange to me, because I love Jamie Lee Curtis. I have adored her since the 90s. Like, I grew up with True Lies and Halloween and Freaky Friday, so I was very happy to see her win an Academy Award. That was really cool, but I just didn't think she had enough to do in that movie to warrant the Oscar win. And what made it so painful for me, and many others I'm sure, is that the better supporting actress performance in that movie is Stephanie Hsu, who thankfully got the Oscar nomination. She did very well throughout that award season. I think of the 5 women nominated for Best Supporting Actress at the 95th Academy Awards, she gave far and away the best performance. I don't believe Everything Everywhere All at Once is the movie it turned out to be without Stephanie Hsu and her brave, brilliant, exciting performance. Like, here's the deal. I think a lot of talented actresses could have played the Jamie Lee Curtis role in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and not much of the movie would be different, whereas I think the Stephanie Hsu character is not that case at all. Like, she has to be funny, she has to be emotional, she has to show so many dramatic shades throughout that 2-hour plus movie. I of course adore the other nominees here. Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That would have been a great win. Hong Chow in The Whale. I think she gives the best performance in that movie. And Carrie Condon, The Banshees of Inisherin. At the very beginning of award season, I thought Carrie Condon was going to do extremely well, and then she only won the BAFTA award. Bassett and Condon are very close favorites for me here, but I do think the Best Supporting Actress nomination we got a few months ago is Stephanie Hsu in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 6, Best Film Editing, Top Gun Maverick.
Come on, bad boy, get it online. There's no time. I'm dropping blinds.
Oh, sir, I got this. I got
time.
this.
Pull
Push
out.
away.
Bombs away. Bombs away.
This one's kind of a weird choice for me because instead of film editing, this should really be Best Cinematography. If All Quiet on the Western Front was going to win Best Cinematography over Top Gun Maverick, my choice here would easily be cinematography for Top Gun Maverick. But it's shocking, I know, some of us might even forget that this happened. Top Gun Maverick was snubbed in cinematography. That was one of the worst snubs of the year easily. Like, I think Top Gun Maverick might have won in that category over All Quiet on the Western Front, but it didn't even get the nomination. It's so stupid. Thankfully, this wonderful film did show up in some technical categories. It won Best Sound, rightfully so. And I don't know about you, but when I watched the film, I was so in awe of the editing. I was like, what a job that was. To go through all that footage, especially the flying scenes, and cut all that together in a way that is exciting, that makes sense, that allows us to follow the action in a very clear way, and that raises the suspense, the tension. Like, the editing in Top Gun Maverick is a masterclass. I'm so happy it got that nomination. I do think it was easily in second place here. If Everything Everywhere All at Once had not been in the category, Top Gun Maverick wins this easily. Film editing is an art form I have always loved with my whole heart, and one of the best examples of great film editing of the last few years is Eddie Hamilton's impressive work on Top Gun Maverick. Number 5, Best International Feature, Close.
T'es prêt? C'est horrible.
So I really did my best, I promise. I tried to see as many of the nominated films before the night of the 95th Academy Awards that I could have. There were only like 3 or 4 movies I didn't get to, mostly because they just had not been released yet and I didn't have a way to watch them. One of those films was Close, from Belgium. This was a movie I had been hearing great things about for months, and I really wanted to watch it before the night. I didn't think it had a chance of winning. I mean, probably the easiest category of the entire night, even more than visual effects, I would argue, was International Feature Film. All Quiet on the Western Front got into Best Picture. It got a ton of Oscar nominations. It was a 100% certainty. So it's not like I had to see every international feature film nominee, but every year I adore that category. I try to see all 5 if I can. And so I want to say it was about a month later, maybe 5-6 weeks later, that I finally got around to watching Close when it became available for rent on Apple. And oh my god, this movie is extraordinary. I think I tweeted out that night, I said, okay, if I had seen this a few months ago, it would have easily made my top 10 list of 2022. It might have made the top 5. It's that good. It is so rich, so devastating. The performances by those 2 young actors are incredible. I was so taken with that story, with the film's mood. Its cinematography is luscious. The narrative just rips your heart out toward the end. It is a stunning piece of cinema, and I'm grateful that it got the Oscar nomination for International Feature Film. I feel like this one should have made it into more categories too. It is a beautiful piece of work I would love to revisit soon. I do think Close is the best movie here that did not win International Feature Film. Number 4, Best Actor, Colin Farrell, The Banshees of Inisherin.
You do like me.
I don't.
You liked me yesterday.
So this one was kind of a hard decision. I was tempted to say Paul Mescal for Aftersun because that was the one kind of surprise nomination in this category. Paul Mescal did not have that Oscar nod in the bag by any means. He had shown up a little bit that award season, but nobody really knew who was going to get that 5th slot at the Oscars. He made it in, so well deserved. Aftersun is a terrific movie and Paul Mescal is great in it, but my favorite of the Best Actor nominations, and that goes for Brendan Fraser as well, I think the best performance in the category this past year was Colin Farrell for The Banshees of Inisherin, and honestly it saddens me to this day that the only big televised prize he won was Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical at the Golden Globes. Like seriously? That's it? I'm still baffled at how he lost Best Actor at BAFTA. The Banshees of Inisherin at BAFTA won both Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress, and then they give Best Actor to Austin Butler for Elvis? That has just never sat well with me. I have adored Colin Farrell's work for many years, and he had a stunning 2022 with The Batman, After Yang, 13 Lives, and The Banshees of Inisherin. I mean, 4 wonderful performances, and the very best turn I think he's given in his long career thus far is in The Banshees of Inisherin. He is so sweet in that movie, so vulnerable. His chemistry with Brendan Gleeson is off the charts. I mean, they were so great in Bruges back in 2009. And then they were just as good here in The Banshees of Inisherin. Colin Farrell should have won more prizes last season. In those last few weeks, we were all talking Austin Butler versus Brendan Fraser. Colin Farrell should have been more of a threat, I think, overall. If he had won at BAFTA, then I think he would have had a slightly better chance at a potential Oscar victory. It would have been a glorious win for the ages, but at least we have Colin Farrell's first Oscar nomination in the books. Number 3, Best Original Score, Babylon.
That is actually my cue.
No, please, you must play for us.
Okay, so think what you want of Babylon, the latest film from Damien Chazelle. It got a mixed reception from critics and audiences. It was a giant bomb at the box office. It was a film that was expected to be a big Oscar player and then came up with only 3 technical nominations. Back in September, October, many of us were thinking Babylon was going to get into Best Picture, Director, Actress for Margot Robbie, maybe Best Supporting Actor for Brad Pitt. And then by Oscar nominations morning in January, the buzz for this movie had gone south very quickly. I definitely like this movie better than others. It didn't make my top 10, but it would be like number 15, 16, I would say, of the year. I really loved it up until the 3rd hour. That's where I think the movie goes a little bit haywire. But for the most part, I really dig this movie. And as much as I admire the performances, the cinematography, the direction, that original score by Justin Hurwitz is dynamite. That is one of my favorite scores to a movie in the last 5 years easily. And even though the movie didn't get into the top 8 categories, I still think it should have won Best Original Score over All Quiet on the Western Front. The score to All Quiet is memorable too, it's haunting, but I don't think it's at the level of Babylon. You have 3 hours of nearly wall-to-wall music from Justin Hurwitz, and it's just as good, if not better, than La La Land, which won him the Academy Award back in 2017. I play the score to Babylon all the time when I'm writing, when I'm working in my office. It is so great, and it's like how many people are listening back to the All Quiet on the Western Front score? I can't imagine too many, especially these days. I just love the music to Babylon so much. It should have won here. I predicted it to win all the way to Oscars night. I thought it was going to happen, and then when they said All Quiet on the Western Front, I was like, ugh, okay, that makes sense. It's the movie people like more, and it has a very good score, I'll give it that. But the score to Babylon, I think, is in a league of its own. Number 2, Best Director, Steven Spielberg, The Fabelmans.
I want you to make a camping trip movie. You can learn how the editing machine works while you do this. It'll make your mom feel better.
Yeah.
I love The Fabelmans. I have watched it 3 times by now. It's a film that really speaks to me. I find it very entertaining, emotionally resonant, beautifully acted. I love the look, the production design. It is just a splendid movie that I do believe is one of Steven Spielberg's best of the last 20 years. It's not impressive on the level of like a Schindler's List or a Saving Private Ryan, I grant you that. But I think it's really moving for a director of his stature to tell his own personal story about his upbringing and do it so well, make it so entertaining for people who know Spielberg's story, and for many people, I'm sure, who have no idea that any of this actually happened to the real Steven Spielberg. I feel like for The Fabelmans, this master craftsman really opened up his heart in a way he rarely has before, allowing himself to tell a story that really means the world to him that he wanted to get off his chest. Steven Spielberg didn't win very much last award season, like the big televised prize he got, again, was at the Golden Globes, where he won Best Director, and The Fabelmans won Best Motion Picture Drama. Pretty much after the Golden Globes, buzz died way down on The Fabelmans, and all the traction instead went to Everything Everywhere All at Once. Up until DGA night, I still thought Spielberg had a chance. I thought if he can win at DGA over the Daniels, he could still get a Best Director Oscar win, even if the movie doesn't take any other categories. Kind of like the year before, when Jane Campion won the Best Director Oscar for The Power of the Dog, and then her movie didn't win in any other category it was nominated for. I mean, Spielberg has 2 Best Director Oscars he won in the 90s, so it's not like he's overdue for another win. But I think Steven Spielberg is one of our finest filmmakers. I do think by now he should have 3 Best Director Academy Awards. He was just nominated the year before for West Side Story. He did such a marvelous job on that film. And I do think a Best Director Oscar win for Spielberg on The Fabelmans would have aged well. I think that would have been a fantastic win. It would have given The Fabelmans something on Oscar night. The Daniels definitely would not have gone empty-handed by any means. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer Spielberg didn't do better last award season, but I love this Best Director Oscar nomination. The Fabelmans is a spectacular movie, and Spielberg did just a marvelous directing job. Alright, and that takes me to my number 1 choice. What do I think was the best Oscar nomination of 2022 that that did not result in a win. Sometimes I like to surprise you with my number one choice, throw you for a loop. That's not going to happen this time. I think this choice is pretty damn obvious. My number one pick for the best Oscar nomination of 2022 is Best Actress, Cate Blanchett, Tar.
The problem with enrolling yourself as an ultrasonic epistemic dissident is that if Bach's talent can be reduced to his gender, birth country, religion, sexuality, and so on, then so can yours.
I love this movie so much, I could have picked pretty much anything it was nominated for in this number one slot. Maybe not film editing, but definitely best cinematography, best original screenplay, best director, best picture. Any of those could have been in my number one slot. I had to pick Tar for something, but if I was going to pick something for this amazing movie, one of the best films I've seen in the last 10 years, I just have to go with Best Actress, Cate Blanchett. This is one of the very best Oscar-nominated performances of the last few years that did not result in a victory. And months later, looking back, it was a tricky situation. Like, Cate Blanchett is extraordinary in Tar. She won lots of prizes throughout that season, starting at Venice. She won at the Golden Globes, she won at Critics' Choice, she won at BAFTA. And deservedly so. This is a masterclass of acting that might be her best performance on film, better than Blue Jasmine. Like, she is in almost every frame of Tar, and she is bringing it. Oh my god, I have watched this film 3 times now, and every single watch I am just enamored, captivated by the Blanchett performance. I mean, that scene at Juilliard that plays out in one long shot is extraordinary. Like, no matter what, she was going to get the Oscar nomination for that one scene alone. But that's not the only part of the movie she's great in. She is amazing in the entire thing. The arc of her character throughout this movie is so compelling, it makes sense that Todd Field only had one actor in mind for this role of Lydia Tar. I believe he said if Cate Blanchett had said no, he wasn't going to make the movie. It is an all-timer Oscar nomination. I think if she had not won Best Actress for Blue Jasmine 9 years ago, she would have probably won the Oscar for Tar, but I still believe this many months later. This was Michelle Yeoh's moment. She received in Everything Everywhere All at Once the role of a lifetime, and that Oscar win for Yeoh makes sense. Even more so, I think, than Cate Blanchett in Tar, Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once, that was a role that no other person but Yeoh could have played, and she does so magnificently. So this was a case of 2 incredible performances in Best Actress that I loved, but because Blanchett already had 2 wins, I thought, let's give it to Yeoh this year. I am still thrilled Michelle Yeoh won. It was my favorite moment of the night, but Cate Blanchett in Tar gave her significant competition. It is one of the great performances of the last few years. Blanchett will continue to blow us away in many more movies to come, but that amazing, complex turn in Tar is something special. It is far and away the number 1 nomination that did not result in a win at the 95th Academy Awards. Oh, and did you want to know what I think were the worst Oscar nominations of 2022? Get ready, that video is coming.